Okay, let's get started. All right. Hello. Welcome to tonight's stream. I'm Eric. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Uh, so tonight we're going to be doing some photo editing. We're going to be working in Adobe Lightroom, working on some landscape photos from the James River floodwall area of Richmond. And these are photos from last Sunday. It's a mix of it's a lot of landscape, a lot of architecture stuff, few animal shots in there that we might get to. Um, but yeah, that's what we're gonna be looking at. Uh, and yeah, I think that's what we're looking at. Sorry, scatterbrained as always. But trying to remember all the things I'm supposed to I try to say at in the intro. The As always, the main reason I do this is because I feel like post production is a hugely essential part of the photo editing process or the photo photography process, especially nowadays. But it's also a part of the process that tends to get overlooked and tends to get either not given its due or kept behind a paywall or just kind of treated as magic. And I kind of like to pull the curtain back on that for in as many ways as I can. Just to share that to if you're a photographer starting out or a photographer who's been uh kind of getting like getting involved in starting to get involved in things and wondering why your photos don't quite look to the same level of professional in quotes as the people you follow. Sometimes, I mean, there's several different reasons why that might be, but one of them that I feel like doesn't get its due is post production because it doesn't really get talked about and doesn't really get shown off. So that's what we do. And by we I mean me and all the voices in my head. So if you're new to this, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Thank you for coming. I appreciate you sticking with this. Please feel free to post comments, post questions, post any kind of ideas uh, in the chat. If there's a decision I'm making that you think works better another way, or if I've gone too far with something, like absolutely throw your voice in there. And yeah, if you also, I try to say this as much as I can. If you are a photographer and want to share your work in chat, you are more than invited. Please feel free to drop links to your Instagrams, to your portfolios, so that anyone watching can check that stuff out. Absolutely love it. This can, I don't want this, even though it is a stream and it is me, I don't want it to be a platform just for me. So anyway, I think with that said, I'm gonna jump into Lightroom here. So. These are the photos from the shoot. I got to 191. I started out with, I want to say I started out with just over 300 and have whittled it down to these. And as always, not all of these will be fully edited. Some of them are. I kept a bunch that are like, all right, it's a couple different versions of the same idea. Um, just to see where it goes, and some were just because I thought they were cool. All right, so where do I want to start with this? Which photo? Okay, you know what? This photo's kind of been calling my attention. This is one of the first. Switch to develop. One of the first photos I took this on this day. I actually I was a little bit late meeting up with my partner to take photos because I stopped on the way to grab a couple just because I like the way the light was doing stuff in this one. So let's see. First thing I want to do is rotate that. I want to kind of look at it this way. We're gonna widen that all the way up, and then I'm gonna start adjusting. What I liked about this photo was the lighting. It was the way the shadows kind of fell here. So that's what we're gonna focus on. Now, first thought is pull that back to there, but that makes it about the path, not about the light. The thoughts pull this back a little bit like that. There we go. So it becomes the path and the light. I think that's a good compromise. Let's go ahead and rotate that back. Hit the right buttons. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure of the orientation I want this one to be on. I'll stick with that for now. All right. If you're if you've been on this channel before, if you've watched me photo edit, you know my first go-tos are the presence sliders, texture, clarity, and dehaze. And that's just primarily because I feel like they do the most. So I like to see what they bring before I start fine-tuning. Let's see, clarity. Clarity, I feel like it's overdoing it. Texture, no, texture and dehaze together might not be a bad combination. Yeah, that brings out the shadows. It brings out it brings out the lights without, um, yeah. And I'll probably up the clarity a little bit just to give it a bit more of a harsh edge to it. I feel like the harsh sunlight and the harsh sunlight coming in through, as these coming in through these windows is a good like indicator of what to chase here. It's what I want to focus on. So bringing a little more harshness in isn't a bad thing. I don't think I may adjust that as we go. Just mostly a photo to get warmed up on a little bit, just to kind of enjoy the details of it. I really cannot decide if I like this oriented this way, oriented this way. That way's the wrong direction. I don't hate that. Something about that draws my eye more to the shadows, but I'm gonna stick with this for now. Uh, you know me, you know I love shooting on angles. How many options here? Okay, something about this photo is telling me I want it in black and white. Yeah, that instantly improves it. And I know at least one person who's gonna throw me some shade for putting images in black and white, and that black and white is a crutch. And I don't know if I universally agree with that. I would probably say it's what I'm using it as right now. Uh, I like that better before I cropped it that way. I will definitely darken that little corner up there so it isn't quite as eye-catching, but I want the whole path. I'm curious, if I tell this thing to select subject, what does Lightroom think the subject of this photo is? Okay, interesting. Yeah, we're not going to use that. There's not really a reason to do that here, but it's interesting that that's what it picked. All right, yeah, we're done with masking. We're not really going to do any masks on this. I don't think we need to. Can't really pull that any further down without getting some shadows, or without getting the edge. Well, yeah, I've got this rotation. All right, let's see. At some point, I don't want to bring the greens down. I think I want to, yeah, let's get that plant kind of darker and out of there so it's not a factor. There we go. Okay. It's always something. There we go. Bringing up the oranges and bringing the yellows and greens down. Definitely it specifically, I like it. It pulls out not so much the whole path, but just the spots where it intersects uh, or not, yeah, there's spots where it intersects with the windows. And I think I might have just found what this picture's about by doing that. Reds aren't doing me much. I think I gotta bring the texture back down. The texture in a little ways, yeah, it's distracting a bit from the windows. I might try to bring up the texture in the windows specifically, but not. I don't think wholesale it's doing me much good. Clarity's better. Clarity's actually doing what I wanted texture to do. All right, do I still need to dehaze this as much if I'm looking at it? Yeah, I still want the dehazing there. A little bit of an edge on the plant there, but the plant actually ends up, because the ground has these bright spots and the edges of the plant do too, and I'm kind of blending together and your focus still stays there. All right, now that we've got some bright spots, let's brighten up the highlights. There we go. Let's bring up that path. I'll bring up the whites. Nah, that's too much. Let's just stick with the highlights. Up the contrast a little bit. That's a very dark black and white photo. I don't hate it. I honestly think it's kind of cool, but I'm gonna bring up the shadows. No, I'm not. That's not doing any good. Bring up the whites a bit. No. You always gotta warm up. It's always good to. Another reason I like to take as many photos as I do, and I like to take one of my favorite photographers, whose channel on YouTube is Expressive Photography. He's got a bit where he's got a thing where he talks about photography when you're out in the field is just sketching, and that's the most important part of it. Is that you're not doing finished photos, you're just creating kind of little sketches just to see what speaks to you. Oh, there we go. Take that dehazing down, and that brightens the path and lightens up the whole area. Perfect. Um, and so I kind of like I agree with that, and that's another like, yeah, you take photos that you don't know if they're going to work, and that's kind of what makes it cool in editing. Also reinforces how essential editing is. That if you're not coming out of the field with finished photos, that editing is such an essential component uh, to this thing. But at the same time, the other thing that you end up doing, you end up taking photos that you don't know if they're going to work, and even if they don't work, I think this one does work fairly well. I'm still fine tuning, but I think there's a very good photo in here somewhere. What happens if I do that? Nah, it's too much about the path and not about the light. What if I go the other direction? Anyway, that is more interesting to me at least. I might lean into that. I'm gonna give us a little more space here, but yeah, and it gets a little more of that light there. So now you're seeing the pathway of light. This composition of this photo is all over the place, but I really can't say I dislike it. I'll say I kind of like it upside down. That's giving me a very twisted headache in a way that I like. It's affecting me. It's making me think. It's making me look at things in a different way. It's messing with my perspective. I like that. But anyway, um, yeah, no, the idea of taking these sketch photos is yeah, you get you don't have to feel shackled to it's got to be perfect in the field, so it gives you the freedom to experiment. It also you end up with photos kind of like this one and a few others that I've taken that I don't like as much as this one that are like, all right, I don't know if this was going to work or not, but I took a picture and now I can kind of warm up by editing it. And if it's not, and gets my brain going the right direction, so then when I start working on a photo that I'm more specifically confident in the purpose of it, it ends up being better. Okay, so that's pretty good for what that is. I like that as a warm up. I'm gonna click that rating up to 1, and I'm gonna move on. Next one we're gonna look at is this one, which is kind of a lie because it's a group. Here we go. We're gonna open the crop on that, and uh, what I did was we're just gonna sync the crop on this one. Uh, check none, just the crop, synchronize. Um, this one's a panorama. It's a portrait panorama. So, and basically the reason to do that, apart from the fact that you get a nice wide field of view, is this is the other shot this is the first picture that I took of this spot, which I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'm gonna go black and white on this or not. I don't know if I want to lean into the just lovely muddiness of the James River or not. Um, be interesting to play with that and see. What if I turn the whole thing blue? Hey, you got to go really blue to get the James River to look good. I go green and blue. Nope. Now Richmond just looks like it's underwater. We haven't quite hit Atlantis levels yet. I think Richmond's got probably a couple more years before global warming gets it. All right, but anyway, point is, I don't know, I'm getting messages. Point is, so this is the shot I took. Like this shot and the next one we're gonna talk about, taken from the same location, same spot at the kind of just the other end of this bridge here, right down there. Um, and this is on my 14 millimeter lens, and so you get a wide view, you get the shoreline, you get the river, you get the cityscape. But by doing it this way, by switching it to vertical and then going all the way across, just kind of keeping myself steady and going across. Um, what I'm going to end up with is it's going to be a more square photo, but it's going to encompass just even more. So we're going to go to photo merge, do a panorama. As always, we're going to try a couple different types of panoramas just to see what really looks good. All right, so auto settings, don't need that. I click fill edges. I'm going to try all three, mostly because I think they're interesting and it's interesting to see the difference. Okay, so cylindrical, yeah, you are seeing that curve. If I do spherical, let me see if spherical kind of reduces that a little bit. It might. Let's do perspective. Perspective is usually the odd one out. Okay, you still got the curve. This one's the proportions seem a little better than here. This seems a little stretched. This one proportions seem a little better. What's perspective do? Perspective is going to be weird. Perspective is always weird. Yeah, that's what perspective does. Trying to judge the relative distance between things, and you end up with that. All right, so we're going back to spherical. I think spherical's the way to go. I'm going to turn off fill edges. I'm going to try using boundary warp instead. So we can see what the difference is. If I go to 100% that, or if So that's what that looks like. If I go to fill edges, it's about the same. It's a little bit of copying, so I want to avoid that. We're going to go like this, I think. Take it back, fill edges. Yeah, fill edges is duplicating some stuff. You end up with like this bench or this part of the railing looking like it's out in the middle of nowhere. You got this guy up here that's clearly duplicated. So we're gonna turn that off. We're gonna go here. I click auto settings. I always like to see what they do. Okay. All right. So we're gonna merge. This is probably gonna take. Yeah, actually, real quick, let me go ahead and put the lens profile on. See if that makes a big difference. I usually tend to ignore it, but all right, we're using the Samyang lens, the 14 mm 2.8. That's the one. So without and with. All right, that does flatten it out a little bit. That's not a bad thing. Okay, let's again do a merge. Yep, cylindrical or spherical. Sorry, spherical with boundary warp. Actually, that's better. Cool. All right, now I'm gonna merge, and that means the frame rate's gonna chug a little bit. So, yep. Now we're frozen. I don't even know if you can still hear me if I'm stuttering, but that's where we're at. Let's catch up here. All right, and looks like we're creating the panorama. So it's gonna pop up right over here, like that. Okay, doesn't look too bad. It's got a bit of an edge on it. We're gonna work on that. Rotate it just a little bit, move it over. So that gives us that. No, I want to see if I can get that whole thing out of there. I would like to. Come on. I rotate to about there. It's not taking too much off, but it's also getting rid of. I'm keeping the wire the little bit on the edge there without getting the beam or the post, I guess. All right, cool. So we've got our train tracks heading into the city. We got our cityscape. We got the James River here looking just lovely, and we've got our whole all of our bridges and our kind of Capitol Hill over there. There's the Capitol. There's a museum. There's the War Memorial, kind of right in the tiny distance there. Cool. Okay. Again, I love letting this thing do auto settings because it always ignores it always ignores the present sliders. It always does the basics, which I find very funny. Took my exposure down. That's good. I kind of like it and took the highlights down. Yeah, took the highlights down, the shadows up. It was reducing contrast, but then took the blacks down. So if we up the clarity, I do love that. I love that. That's what that does. I think I'm gonna do that on a. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do those as a separate thing. So let's quickly do. I may do a select sky in a second, but right now I'm just gonna do a linear gradient. Kind of get this close to level on my horizon, more or less, because I like what clarity does to the city and the sky. I didn't like it as much with what it did to the river. I'm going to, however, duplicate mask one. Didn't want to do that. I'm going to flip it upside down, like that. Am I leaving a space there? Let me see. Yeah, I think I am. Flip it like that. I'm going to bring the clarity down a bit. I don't want it. I want some, just not as much. Cool. Now I can dehaze that a little bit. Dehazing that a little bit's pretty good. Then I can go to the top one, and I can dehaze that even more. That's better. So it's giving me some texture. Cool. Let's go done. Let's adjust the texture. If I do the texture of the whole photo, nah, that looks like way too much. That's bringing out some. Yeah, that's bringing out too many colors. We're gonna leave that as it is for now. I may come back to it. Let's see, highlights. The highlights are honestly pretty good. They're not doing a whole lot. And they're adding a little more texture to the clouds, but not much more than that. I'm gonna let that come up because it does kind of give me a nice almost bookending or like bracketing the top with the clouds and the bottom with these white rocks. So I do like that. Shadows up. Yeah, shadows up a little bit and blacks down. I like the auto settings choice to do that. All right. I am actually going to try to see if I can do anything with the James River specifically, but we'll come back. That'll be the last thing I do, just because that's less me thinking it, and worrying about fixing it, and more just wondering if I can do something with it, and enjoying the idea that like anyone from Richmond who sees this will look at this photo and be like, "That's not at all what that river looks like." Creme brulee sweet tea, uh, which is delicious until you get the wrong ratio of tea to sugar, and it ends up tasting like maple syrup. Which, hey, to each their own. Right, so we can bring the blues up and brighten up the sky. I want to saturate the sky a little bit. I like to do that. Could brighten it up. I like that. I also really like that this our mirrored glass building here is reflecting the sky. Makes that stand out really nicely. All right, so now the question is, do I start messing with hue sliders? I'm going to see what happens. If I turn, all right, I can push the trees and stuff to green, which is to the point that looks fake. Okay, how do I just what's there's very little green in this photo, which I find funny. Orange. There's my not quite my whole city adjusting, but or my river adjustment, but it's something. Uh, so yeah, let's see. Out of curiosity, I'm gonna check that in black and white. No, that's not as interesting. It's better with the color. It's weirder with the color, but it's better with the color. Okay. So we know reds aren't really doing much here, so we're gonna go and bring the reds and the magentas up. Because I want to brighten up that cityscape a little bit. Oranges, I want to brighten up the orange, but I also don't want to give the river too much to do. But though I'm going to be adjusting the river anyway. All right, bring up the yellows. The yellows are where the river kind of is doing most of its stuff. All right, that's not bad if I brighten that up. That gives us right now what I'm mostly looking at is the skyline. I'm looking at the skyline of the river here and saying, okay, what do I want to do with that? Like I know I'm gonna be playing with the river. I want to see how many colors I can pull out of the skyline. Purples, nah, purples aren't really. Yeah, a little bit of fluctuation in the clouds up there, but nothing much more than that. And we already know what the yellows do. All right. Questions. Do I want to adjust the brightness of the purples? Let the sky kind of brighten up a bit. I like that. Again, I like the bright white at the bottom and the top. So if I can brighten the clouds a bit, I think that's a good idea to do. Really no magenta in this photo. A little bit of red. Yeah, we can brighten that up a little. Yeah, not all the way, but a little bit. If you're new, I do tend to completely min-max almost all of my photography, or at least my sliders at first, just to yeah. I want to see the bounds that I'm playing with before I start doing anything else. Okay, next question is all right. First, let's see. First thing is Now we're gonna try to see what we can do with this river. Um, if I tell it to select subject, I'm curious what it's gonna grab. Like the select subject tool is that I'm kind of just playing. Yep, there we go. Couldn't find a subject, of course. The select subject tool is spectacular when you are. Let me try color range. Let's see what I get if I do that. If I tell it to pick the river. Okay, not bad. We can actually work with that. If I refine it a bit, we're going to pull it down, and we're going to end up with more or less just the river itself, and then I can selectively. So I can get, and then I can adjust with the brush. Okay, cool. So we've got most of the river there. Excellent. Can also do add another color range and kind of get over here. That's too much. We're going to pull that back. Good. That helps. I think I got most of the river. Excellent. Cool. Now we can just erase everything else. Subtract with a brush. Anyway, one of the things that I don't know where I was going with this. Yeah, no, the select subject tool is amazing if you're working with photos of people. Like I have like the one of the things that's always been kind of a frustration of mine in editing photos of people, especially when I want to work on selective areas, is hair. If I want to try to adjust, like brighten up the highlights in their hair, or just isolate them from the background a little bit. Hair is always a crazy thing for me, and somehow the selective tool on here does a spectacular job isolating someone's hair in addition to like their face and their body and everything. So that is like on portrait photography, it is very quickly turned into one of my go-to tools. Uh, On nature photography, not so much. So yeah, welcome to the very, 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 very boring part of photo editing, where I just kind of sit here and brush things. And not in the fun ways, like I'm brushing a cat or something. I'm just brushing, stuff, this mask off of things. I have to do the whole thing on the city, but that's going to be easier because it's going to be bigger. We're going to do the small stuff first. Get us off the river, off the bridge. Go a little bigger now that we've got the edges down. Actually, I realize I do have some sort of people photography shots from this shoot because we actually got some shots of a couple of kayakers. So I'll be looking at some of them. All right, this is also so that's pretty good. We've got most of the water over there. This whole area up here we're gonna get rid of. Kind of let the trees be their own thing for now. If I have to come back and work on the trees, I'll come back and work on the trees. It's mostly river. I'm actually, yeah, these blocks in the river should probably go. A little bit of a cast on them, but not much. I talk about pulling the curtain back on photo editing, and one of the things I want to pull that is very important to know is that photo editing takes a long time and is often kind of boring, especially to watch. That's one of the reasons when you see people doing, usually when you see photo editing videos that aren't step-by-step tutorials for doing a specific thing. If you're watching like, and here's how I edited a photo. That's one of the reasons they usually are like, okay, so I'm just gonna clean that up, and then they just, they go to fast forward and you see the thing going nuts like that. And that's because this takes a while. Which it's cool to watch. It's got like a kind of you get the same kind of rush you get when you watch a time lapse of just seeing something get change drastically over a short amount of time. But it also I feel like those tutorials, cool as they are to watch, if they don't properly explain what they're doing, it's like, okay, now I'm just watching a brush move around a lot, but I'm not actually getting anything from it. Okay. So that area's been cleared up a bit. Let's clean up. Let's take our feathering down a bit. I want to get more of a harsh edge on this, and I want to just get everything off the city back here. I want to make sure I'm not affecting the city at all back here. So we're gonna get all that. We're gonna get the sky. I don't think the sky really got caught in any of this, but I want to make sure I get all that. All right, let me do an overlay on black and white. That'll help. Cool. That does help. Holy shit. Okay. Zoom into 50%. I can keep working here. We're gonna clear off the trees. I want to mostly just get the river. River and kind of the surrounding. Like if I get some coastline, I'm fine with that. There we go. Feathering back up so it's not a harsh edge. Try to keep it fairly soft. A little more of the city. This over here on Capitol Hill. Let's get rid of that. Get rid of this. Da, 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 da. There we go. And it's nice having these bridges here because it is a very nice defining line that I can just run the brush across and know that anything above, above versus below. Cool. Okay. And we got the white caps down there, but that's fine. All right, so that's more or less how we want the city to look. Let's take the overlay off and let's start. Let's see what I can do if I just start. There we go. Hey, look at that beautiful James River. Let's see if I can go to purple. Up. My friend Amy is now watching, and I feel like there we go. Yep. No, Amy is a very talented artist and makes a very very good point that what I need to be doing with my photos is really pressing the shutter button harder. That is how that's the I do all this editing is just to make me seem important. The real trick to photography is just press the shutter button really really hard, and the harder you press, the better your pictures will be. That's the actual secret. Uh, Golf clap to Amy for actually pulling the curtain back. So yes, now that you all know the secrets, you can all go out and become, National Geographic photographers and really take the world by storm. Uh, but yeah, that's the secret. Thank you, Amy. We would be totally lost without you. You say that sarcastically. It is actually, in point of fact, true. Just, uh, maybe not. Your photography advice, it's not too bad. All right, now we're gonna add with a brush because because I want to touch up some certain areas. I want to get this area over here. Oop, hang on, I'm on. That's what I need to do. Okay, so now we're gonna do. Yeah, we're gonna add with a brush. I'm gonna bring my feathering up all the way and bring my flow down to 60-something%. Um, if you are new to editing with to photo editing like this, the Photoshop uses this technique as well. Flow is effectively just the it's kind of in some ways think of it as the amount of paint on the brush. So the uh, if you have it's basically at 100% I do one pass across it and it's the full effect. At 60% I need a couple passes, so I can use it to kind of get little corners here. I'm going to be subtracting some of this in a second, but I want to kind of get the whole area just so I have it. Cool. I want to get this spot over here. Let's zoom in. Yeah. Cool. All right. And now we're going to do another subtract brush just to bring our flow down even more. We're going to be just kind of cleaning up. Actually, bring the flow back up. I want to be a little more specific with it. There we go. Kind of hit me in the middle. Okay, and in cleaning up this area, I did get this sign a little bit, so I want to get rid of that, which is easy enough to do. Just kind of subtract from there. Cool. All right, that photo looks cool. I'm happy with that for now. Get that flow back up there. Okay, we're gonna hit done. Now set the rating to 1, so I've got that photo saved. I can come back to it. One thing I want to take a look at real quick before I do too much is I adjust the oranges. Push the oranges a little more toward red. A bit. I like this bridge. I like this bridge has a like a rusted look to it, and if I kind of want to pull that up a little more, and it brings out the reds more in the city, which now contrasts well with this beautiful blue that the James River most certainly isn't. All right, last thing to do, we're gonna pull this up a little bit. There we go. Get that. There was a little sign at the bottom. There was that little bit of gate, and now the fencing is kind of there's not really a break in the fence at the end. It starts and it ends. Cool. So that's a photo. Go team. Let's move on. Let's do something a little more. What else we got? Oh, you know what? Okay, let's look at a couple of photos of this bullseye mural, which is on the other side of the river, um, which is, if you can't tell, has people sticking out of it, which is ideal, really. I think we can all agree, uh, the ideal targets. And the thing I like about this, apart from just the fact that the mural is cool, um, is that we do have these really cool shadows coming across it. So we're gonna try to highlight those as much as I can. Cool. I've got a couple of pictures that are going to do even more, but this is what I'm going to start with. And here, this is a good chance for me to talk about histograms because we all know I love a chance to talk about histograms. So my histogram for this the photo looks overexposed, the histogram is overexposed. Um, the question is it too overexposed? It doesn't look up. Maybe it is. Let me pull some highlights down. Yeah, I went a little too far with this one. I pulled the exposure down. Oh, I don't know. Maybe. I'm not getting as much texture out of it, but I am getting something. I kind of like that. I'm not getting as much of a good distinction. Like this spot right here, like that's not uh uh that spot right there, there's not enough information there to really pull that back. And if you look at the histogram up in the corner, you still see like I could keep pulling the exposure down. I'm always gonna have stuff there. That's always gonna be off the chart. I'm not gonna be able to get that back to like at some point I'm not pulling out more information. I'm just darkening white to gray. Like it looks doing that drops my saturation down. I can bring it up, but it doesn't bring back the energy of the photo. So we'll see what we can do with this one. We're gonna clarity it up. We're gonna dehaze it. Still too much. Nah. No, you need the color for this one. This photo absolutely needs the color. I bring the highlights down. Bring the exposure down a bit. We'll see what we can do with it. Let's do a bit of a rotation here. I feel like this is a little bit off. Not much. There's not much I can do with it, but let's do that. Okay, a little better. Um, let's bring up the clarity. Brings out the texture. I'm not really sure I want to do that on this one. I think I enjoy kind of the like yeah, I enjoy kind of just the abstractness of it. There's other pictures of the bullseye that I will do something with. Um, but yeah, bringing up weirdly doing clarity, texture, dehaze. It's gonna pull out the details of this crack. It's gonna pull out the details like this little spot here, the grubbiness of the bodies, and then the texture of the wall, and that can distract from what's in the target and the bodies themselves. And that's what I want to lean into. So we're gonna come down here. Let's see what I can do with bring up some blues. I'm gonna crop this a little bit more because I'm catching a little bit of the mural below it, and I don't want that. A little bit of the wall above it. We don't want that either. Bring that down. Bring this across a little bit. There we go. Pretty much sticking to just the target itself. Where were we working on color? So we pulled the blues all the way up. We're gonna do the same with the reds. Oranges as well? Nah, that's too much. Yeah, something like that. Yellows. This actually ends up being interesting because that white is so overexposed. Uh, okay, this is what we're gonna lean into. That white is so overexposed that the only way you're really seeing the colors is when they're in the shadows. And I'm a fan. So try to adjust some brightnesses to see what I can pull up here. It's not bad. I'll do that with orange. There we go. That's getting somewhere. That's getting me something. Mm. Okay, now we're making progress. Amy, don't you worry. The James River is absolutely just as dirty as it was when I left it. I'm just working as its PR department, trying to make it look better. Uh, Mostly because I wanted to see if I could, if I wanted to post on Instagram and ask, do we stick to truth in advertising? Uh, okay, now let's see what we can do with this. Yeah, vibrance isn't the way to go. I think saturation, maybe? I don't know. Nah, let's keep it to what it was. Honestly, bring some shadows down. That's not too bad. The blacks down maybe more. Yeah, blacks down a bit. There we go. But the crop on this is still bugging me. I'm gonna keep adjusting this. This is probably one I'm gonna like work on and then come back to and not really know. I'm like something wasn't right about this, and I'll come back to it and it'll immediately click for me. All right. So cool. That was an easy little simple one to work on. Let's work on one of the other ones I did. I think it's this one. Is it this one or this one? Look at both of these. I think. Don't want to do that. Let's click here. Let's work on this one. This one seems like close to what I wanted it to be, and this is one that I planned on doing a weird rotation with. But step one, we're going to widen this up and then immediately undo that because I don't want to get anything other than the bullseye. So we do some rotations. Pull that back so I just get the wall. Pull this back so I just get the bullseye, and then pull this all the way up. All the way. I want it on that third? No, I want more of this. I want that on the third. Something like that. There we go. This is as far as I can go with it. Like that. I want to get that corner. I kind of like this. Done. And then rotate. kind of just, again, leaning into the shadows more than anything else. And this one is much better exposed. So I can pull the highlights down a bit and uh, still get the colors there. I really do want this to be like that. I really do want it to feel like the target itself is oriented correctly, so that we can enjoy the weird angle of the shadows. So we're gonna keep working on that. Like this. The weird thing with doing shots that are meant to be a weird perspective is you end up with. If I set that rotation to 0, what does that look like? Better. All right. Yeah, you end up with some weird stuff if you're trying to if you're messing with perspective, especially on shots like this. Okay. Yeah, but the thing I wanted to highlight here is the shadows and the source of the shadows. So I like this one. This actually might be one to do in black and white. Hard maybe on that. I don't want to lose the color of the target, but I do kind of like by doing it that way you do focus. Do you even focus more on the shadows? I don't know if you do. I think you might focus more on the shadows by doing it this way. All right, so this one, yeah, this one we're gonna lean into some more aggressive texturing and clarity looks. 'Cause I want those shadows dark. I think I'll leave texture where it is. Bring the clarity back maybe a little bit. All right. Let's come down here and start adjusting. I think aqua, I want to push the aqua's not really doing much. I want to brighten it up. Let's start with that. Or not brighten it, saturate it. But greens too. It's probably where. Let's bring the colors down. How many greens in here? Oh, it's green. That's green. Interesting. Yeah, let's include that color. I think the point I think the trick to do with this picture is make the colors pop and then also but don't let them be so dark that let them be so vibrant that they end up distracting us from this. So we're gonna pull the blues down a bit. Is that affecting that's affecting the ring? Okay, we're gonna come back to that. Push. Yeah. So I don't know, we're keeping the weird shapes and the weird shadows. Uh, Honestly, like one of the reasons I do this is for backseat editing. So by all means, let's do that. I'm gonna do a mask over on the side there to get rid of the blue and then just reduce that so it kind of matches this color. Um, where were we? Greens. Yeah, we want to pull those greens up. And I want to adjust the greens so they're a little more aqua because I like the weird color that gives us. If I bring up the oranges, I'm going to be bringing up the reds and the yellows and also the wall a little bit. But I'm also bringing it up on the grime on here, and I like that. Bring the yellows. Yellows is where the most of the wall is being affected. Okay. So we're going to let those be their thing. We're going to bring the reds like that. I'm going to take the yellows. Could darken them down. I don't really want to. Bring the oranges down. That gives me some more texture on the target. But if I bring it up, it brightens the whole thing. So I like that too. And then reds. The red stands out nicely from the target anyway, and it's one of the things that really makes it look like a target. So we're gonna leave those right where they are. Blues, no, blues stay where they are. I don't really have a little bit of purple and magenta. Also just hanging out in just by nature of the blue existing. If I bring the purples down, push them a different color. Can actually do some work on the sky there. That's not bad. Uh, but we're gonna do some more of that anyway. Let's crop this a tiny bit more. There we go. You know what? Part of me kind of likes going back to this and just having the whole thing, because now you really get you see the connection between the line, boom, and the kind of three shadows there. I like that. All right. What else needs to happen with this photo? Something about the angle still feels a little bit off. Like part of me wants to just rotate a tiny bit more. Move it a little bit, kind of like that. I don't know. Again, something I'm going to come back to and be like, oh, well, that makes perfect sense once I take a second to look at, once I step away and come back to it. Let's go ahead and adjust the sky. If I tell it to select the sky, let's see how it does. Given that this is a sideways photo. Oh yeah, look at that. Pretty spot on. So now I can adjust this guy to more of a yellow and kind of give it a duller color. Let's bring up some noise. I can push it fully to green, which also is the same thing. Isn't quite as noisy. A little bit of noise there. Also, I can just desaturate it. I think that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna desaturate it. Yeah, there's no point. I can darken it a little bit. The darkening it's gonna give me some more, a little more color to it. There we go. Just do it like that. Let it kind of be a. I'm gonna push it a little more toward blue. That brightens it up a bit. That brightens it up and desaturates. Makes it a bit of a non-entity. And yeah, a little bit of noise in there, but not enough to worry me. Let me go ahead and actually remove some of that if I can. Take the sharpness down. Oh, no, let's keep that. Let's get defining those wires. Let's take the noise down. That noise reduction. Let me see. Yeah, let's crank that up. There we go. Better. Cool. All right, so that we're gonna say that photo has been edited nicely. There's a few more of the target that I've got that are kind of these nice looking straight down. This is probably the best one of those. Let's tweak that a little bit real quick just to see. Oh, I got a bird in that shot. That's kind of cool. All right, so step one, this needs to be adjusted a bit. I'm definitely not centered, so let's bring this in. Kind of want to give it the feel of, like when I look at this photo, the thing that I kind of imagine is like being served something on a plate. That's kind of how I kind of want something I see, so I'm going to lean into kind of that sort of feeling. All right, we're going to bring this down. We're going to bring this down a bit. I guess I think Lightroom actually has uh, some transform stuff where you can actually do some. You can give it a bit of a perspective shift. No, we're not going to do that. There's no point in it. Uh, but okay. It's another one where I'm gonna do the more intense adjusting kind of with masks. I don't want to affect the sky, but I want to affect the photo here. Dehazing, always one of my favorite things to do. Bring down some shadows, bring up some highlights. Yep, actually take the highlights and bring the shadows up. There we go. And then bring the blacks down. There we go. Want to make sure, it's the crazy thing with making sure I keep the black that's in here, but also make sure the shadows are a darker black. I get all 50 shades of black. I'm sorry, I referenced a horrible parody of a horrible movie. I apologize. You did not deserve this. You've been a wonderful person. That just brings up the blues. That's doing nothing for us. Let's play with the aquas. Also doing nothing. Man, this thing does not know what color that second ring is. It thinks it's green. All right, we're gonna push that to blue. I'm gonna bring up the aquas now. I'm gonna push the aquas to blue. A little more, something like that. Nah, we're gonna leave them where they were. Yeah, we go like that. That works. Can also brighten it lower. Yeah, it's not. Can bring that down a little bit. Ooh, that's actually kind of cool, brightening the sky up like that. Gives us a little more stark, almost silhouette-y kind of look. Of course, it adds some noise, but we can fix that. Or we can do some work on it. Actually, we can fix it. We can do some stuff with it. Reds. Let's bring the reds down. I actually kind of like that. Uh, well, welcome to my photo channel. I am a very, very big fan of dark, high contrast, bright colors. So, okay, yellows are going to stay more or less right where they are. Um, yeah, okay. So we're going to do a little bit of brush work, but otherwise this is pretty good. I'd like to bring those blacks down a little more. Yeah. Put those back where they were. All right. Let's do crack some knuckles here. I forgot I put the yellow back where it was. All right. So let's do some masking. Select sky first thing. Give me that whole area up there. Yes, beautiful. Okay, cool. So we've got that. We're gonna up the noise reduction because that's important. Also, might bring the texture down on that just to give us a little more highlighting of the stuff here. Of course, up the clarity, which basically kind of undoes what I just did, but tweaks it a little bit in a way that I think it makes it look more pleasing. Then we're going to bring down the blacks. Not really doing much for me. Lower the exposure. Actually brightening it. Honestly, the sky being brighter. Not losing. Let's brighten it up a little bit. Just a bit. Cool. Brightening up the sky like that, I think, does, like, it definitely helps. I'm going to come down here. I'm going to reduce. Actually, not the yellows. It's the oranges that I need to reduce. There we go. Bring the oranges down. Just so I'm not getting any color on the bodies. But I'm also going to brighten them up. Brighten the oranges up a little bit. That's not helping. We'll brighten the yellows up. There we go. That's what we wanted to do. Interesting. It's interesting how this thing handles color in various ways. Bring the orange up a little bit. We can have a little bit of color in there. All right. Next thing, we're going to do a new mask with a radial gradient. We're going to do a circle. And this is just for the yellow here. Of course, this is going to be annoying to try to line up, but we're going to do it. It's going to work. And the nice thing is, because this has such a specific circle to it, I don't need to. I've got a little more leeway in terms of feathering. And I can actually bring the feathering down to almost 0 because I'm trying to match a circle that actually already exists. 50%. Cool. There, bring that back. A little smaller. A bit less. A bit of rotation. Not bigger that way, not bigger this way. Move it up, and I'll probably have to subtract the body that's in there, but that's fine. Cool. And what we're going to do now is we're going to up the saturation, and we're going to push the yellows a little more. Cool. Not that much. That's a bit too much. Yeah, that looks like a fried egg. Okay, we're going to stick with just what it was. Stick with it like that. Can up the feathering, which, nah, I think I like it lower feathered. All right, we're going to rotate a tiny bit just to make sure we get everything. Good. Do a subtract brush real quick just to subtract the stuff off the body here. Cool. All right. That one's good. Next thing we're going to do, I should actually make that a little bigger, I think. Where's that gradient? Come on in. Just a touch bigger so it really does. Yeah, there we go. So it does hit all the edges. All right, let's zoom back out. I'm going to do a new mask with color range this time, and I want to get something to do with these blacks. Man, you were not letting me get that. Okay. Right, let's cancel that. New mask. Let's try a luminance range. See if that works. So I tell it to get this. Like no matter what I do, I'm gonna end up subtracting here. Okay. Well, that gets the black ring for me. Now I can just do a subtract brush and get rid of everything up here. Could probably have done a subtract with a linear gradient, just gotten all of this can go. Smaller and just kind of clear up this area. To get a little more specific once I get closer to the ring, but for now, start with this. There we go, a little specific. Cool. Down here, get it off of that dude. Get it off of here. Undo that last little bit. I want to keep that bit that's cutting into the ring like that. There we go. Overdid it again. Cool. All right, let's get rid of all this. There. Everything back here can go. here. Again, there are parts of photo editing that are boring to watch. And if I'm being honest, somewhat a little bit boring to do. I am kept alive by the mere excitement of what I'm going to get to do if this actually looks good. And even that is a small victory because it's a very small thing. Okay, let me just gotta get rid of this. Get that edge there. Nice. Get rid of this edge here. Cool. So now I can bring the blacks down. Actually, I just stick with dehazing. That's a bit much. Clarity? No. Upping the clarity just overdoes it. It's more texture than anything else. Let's stick with bringing the shadows and blacks down. There we go. Trying to make it stand out without losing the colors, without losing the contrast there. Cool, cool, cool. Did I adjust the hue of the red hue? I don't think I did. Let's push that a little more toward that. Cool. All right. If I click done, that photo looks cool. I'm happy with that. Out of curiosity, black and white. Honestly, maybe there's a black and white version of this that might be pretty cool. We're gonna do a virtual copy. I'm going to turn it black and white. And this is they're both gonna get the rating set to 1, and I'll come back and work on this one a little bit more. The most of what I need to do with this is just bring the blacks down, I think. Give it a little more contrast. Yeah, there we go. That also looks pretty good. Actually, what I'd probably do down here is where I brightened it. Yeah, where I did stuff with colors. I'm gonna bring those colors down now. Actually let the yellow be where it is. Bring the reds down. There we go. Make sure that target still stands out in black and white. Make sure those colors don't lose the colors. Yeah, that's a problem. Let's keep that where it was. Yellow. Yellow. We can actually brighten that up a lot because now that we don't see a color spill, it looks pretty good to do it that way. Cool. Those are done. Let's move out of these murals and onto something else. Got the pipeline stuff. Ooh, let's do some kayaking because I got some good shots of these kayaking dudes, and I want to work on some of them. Here's a kayaking story in 4 parts. Just 1, 2, 3, and 4. Uh, Panicked a little bit when I saw him capsize and didn't see him right himself. Can report that he did get out and he is fine. All right, so we're gonna bring this up. This is, yeah, I absolutely love how this action shot came out. So, and we're gonna be doing a lot with clarity, but for starters, we're gonna brighten up. I'm gonna brighten some stuff up. I'm gonna crank my exposure up a little bit, kind of about half of a point. Just to give me a little more to work with. Out of curiosity, if I tell this thing to select subject, how is it going to do with that? Now there is an actual subject, but he is kind of obscured a little bit by water. Wow, that's spectacular. Okay, cool. So first things first, I'm gonna invert that. So I got everything else, and now I'm gonna up the clarity. Up the clarity. I can dehaze a little bit. I don't want to do too much. I got the texture, but that's gonna overdo it. Texture and clarity at the same time is gonna overdo. Bring up the highlights, bring up the saturation a bit. There we go. Overhaul, get us a nice good color in there. Bring up the whites a bit, bring up the shadows. Yeah. Really enjoying the texture of this photo. Good. All right, now we're gonna do a new mask, selecting subject again. And this time I'm gonna just work on him because there's some cool stuff I can brighten him up and make him stand out a little more. Awesome. There's some highlights on him. Crank up his exposure. That's a bit much. Amy, you have a very, very warped sense of the world, and I absolutely adore every second of it. All right. Now with him, I might want to bring the texture up a bit because that gives him, yeah, by bringing the texture up, it's not as aggressive as the clarity tool, but it does pull out some nice some nice detail on him, so he doesn't feel quite as popped out from the background. Not going to dehaze him. Go up the saturation on him just to give it a little more of a. There we go. That looks pretty good. All right. I'm gonna try something. If I do a new mask with a color range, just trying to get. There we go. If we pull this back, yeah, it's these little pops of color in the river that are a little bit too gold for my taste. So I push them to blue. Cool. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I can dig that. All right. Now let's start to go down. Oop, back there. Let's go down here and start adjusting. I think something's up with the cropping of this photo. I think I want to bring this. Yeah, I want to keep that. Bring this down a little bit. No, I don't. I think I need to do is pull out some what's behind him. Though I do really like the water. I like the splashes there. Yeah, I think I'm gonna stick with what I had. I think what I had was the right way to go on this one. Yeah, I think that's better. Okay, so let's come down to some colors. I'm gonna take my brighten up my yellows. Not really a lot of orange work with. It's brightening up his hand, so we're gonna stick with that. Crank the yellows up, and I'm gonna shift them more toward orange, so we get a bit more of a gold. I like that. Lightroom it is more destructive. Yeah, you're not really doing this in layers. However, because you're not like if you're like for the masks, yeah, they're not layers, but they are. I can just selectively edit a thing and then turn it on and off. So you can do that. And then the other thing is because you're not really um done. Because you're not adjusting individual things. It's not like if I adjust if I adjust the reds or the blues all the way up and I end up not liking it, I can just adjust the slider. So it's not like I can't go back to what was there before. It's kind of just the one collection of settings for the photo, so you can easily adjust later on. And yeah, you can create virtual copies, and if I exported this as is and then went back to it later on and made some more adjustments, I could export another version, and it would be like and I could go back to the original however I want to do it. So it's not just there's layering with the masks. There's not really layering with anything else, but there's not really you're not you're not it's not since it's not you're not photoshopping specifically. There's not as much um there's not because there's not as many things to change, and they're all kind of on that just this panel over here. You're not doing as like it's easy to undo stuff and to readjust. So uh, yes, it's kind of destructive. It's destructive in some ways, not in others, but it's not really. It's weird. The thing of Lightroom as destructive editing is it's not the reason people don't like destructive editing doesn't apply to Lightroom. Okay, what were we doing? We were adjusting some colors here. Oranges. Now let's leave them as they are. Let's pull up the reds. That's gonna. Next thing I'm gonna do is brighten up his face and his hands. But we're gonna start. I want to start with that. Um, let's see. We could pull up the blues, but that's extreme. Could pull up the aquas. Pull up a little bit of the blue. Not that much. I do want to brighten the blues a little bit, just a touch. Or drop them down a little bit. Actually, let's leave them where they are. They're better. They're fine where they are. Purples, not doing anything, but I can use them to brighten. Probably same deal with the magentas. And for some reason, that's overdoing it. We'll leave that where it is. Okay. Yeah. What happened if I up the oranges? Really not much. Let's bring it up a bit. Cool. All right. So now, I'm gonna create a new mask. Then up with another color range, and it's just gonna be so I can just get his hands in his face. Pull this down. This is gonna be easier to do with a mask. Or with a brush. So, new mask with a brush. We're gonna turn the feathering all the way up. We're gonna get the flow all the way up, and we're gonna just kind of paint a little bit. Amy, get real excited. This is the boring part. That's one hand. Let's come down a little more and get his thumb here. Zoom in 100%. We're gonna be working a little more detail in a detailed way. Uh, the one of the things I like about photo editing is a lot of the time, especially for stuff like this, I'm not so much trying to get like it's the whole photo. Yeah, you're trying to get the whole photo, and I'm not like, I don't want to edit his hands and his face in a way that's gonna make them stand out in a bad way, but I want it to like them. If you look at this photo and if his his personality and his persona stand out nicely, in a way that you don't have to squint for them, it leaves you free to focus more on the rest of the photo. And the rest of the photo is like with this one, this is a photo kind of about the moment. So if you're not, so what I'm trying to do is kind of get this. I look at the photo, I look at what things do I notice as standing out that need work, and then I try to edit them so that they don't stand out as much, uh, and you can kind of take in the whole photo more easily. All right, let's get his face here. Not sure if we need to come back and get his beard or not, but we'll see. Right now we're just going to get kind of the edge of his face. There we go. Bridge of his nose, down to there. Cool. Up, go all the way out. I don't know if that's his nose or the end of his nose plug, but we're going to get all of it. All right. Now we're going to come back to the wide, and we're going to brighten this up a bit. We're going to bring up the shadows. There we go. Also brings up some nice detail in his face. You start noticing a little bit more. If I get his beard, yeah, it's better. His beard's got some nice color in it. What we want to grab, so we'll get that as well. Cool. It makes his face more complete. Yeah, that looks good. If anybody knows any kayakers in the Richmond area and recognizes this dude, or this guy. Am I doing a brush? Let's not do a brush. I just want to zoom in on this guy's face. Yeah, if anybody recognizes either of these guys, I would love the chance to send these photos to them. Because I like that. It's a cool action shot. Okay, missed a little spot down there. Let's go ahead and fix that up. Mask. Try to get his wrist, get the edge of his hand. There we go. Better. Cool. All right, done. That one looks good. There's another photo I got. We had another kayaker who kind of walked down to the end of the pipeline, and was coming. We were coming our way, so we grabbed some shots. And I got this one of this guy, who's just understood the assignment. All right. I think I want this just all the way up. Yeah, just nicely. It's well framed. The kayak's on 1/3, his face is on another. This one we definitely need to select. Oh, not the sky. Cancel that. There's no sky. Lightroom's gonna have a fit. Let's try that again. Let's select subject, because the problem with this one is definitely that the background is brighter than the subject. So we're gonna work on that. And yeah, that's pretty perfect. Okay. I think there's a little more kayak back there, and a little more paddles. Let's go ahead and get that. But no, hang on, this will be my background. So we're going to invert it, and then we're going to use a subtract brush. We're going to kind of gently subtract the rest of the paddle. A little bit here that's on the handle of the paddle. A little bit here on his arm, on his hand. There we go. This hand back here is definitely covered. Let's get rid of that. Yes, we all know painting is a very, very boring endeavor. I think we can all agree that painting is it's not really an art. I think we're all in agreement on that one. So I'm not usually this much of a troll, but somehow Amy, you're bringing it out of me. So I guess thank you. I'm enjoying myself. Feel free to guest to troll the stream anytime. Honestly, one of these days you can be in the room and yell at me from the couch. Should get in touch with Adobe and tell them I'm disappointed that their select subject mask doesn't immediately recognize kayaks. Oops. This is an inexact science, and it does not need to be exact for this. Wow, I did not realize how much of this kayak was not selected. Let's turn the cover color. Give me the regular overlay so I can actually see the reds standing out there. Cool. We're gonna get the whole, get the hand. We're gonna get the back of the kayak back here. Get all that. There we go. Get the paddle. There's more kayak. Little person over there. A little on the hand there. All right, almost through this one. Try to avoid getting kind of gotta ride the line of where the kayak meets the water. Kind of duck on some splashes. Okay, that's good. That looks pretty great. We get in his hair. Oh, a little bit on that. A little bit on his head. Let's clear that out. Good. A little on the edge of the helmet. Let's make sure we get all that out. Good, good, good. Cool. A little more on the edge there. All right, so now that I've got the background selected, step one is we can take the texture down, or we can bring it up, however we want to do it. I think the main problem is the brightness and the color. There you go, really lean into the dirty river. Let's bring the exposure down. That also brings up some nice. I bring the exposure down, bring the highlights down. Highlights does the job. That does the job very nicely. Shadows up, that's pretty cool. All right. Cool. That looks good. All right. Now I wish I didn't have to do this all again. I think I do. Is that? Hey, oh, that's mask one. That's the yeah, with the minus brush. Let me see the overlay. Yeah, that's good. Okay, cool. So that's what happens when we pull the background down. Probably gonna up the saturation on all of this in little ways. That's pretty good. Might adjust. Go to green or go to purple. That's always fun. All right, let's do same deal, just in reverse. New mask, select subject. Wait for Lightroom. Drink tea. Good news is I've done this before, so I can do it again. Add brush, and I kind of know where Lightroom is gonna mess up, so I can sort of kind of catch the spots. It's a good kayak, isn't it? It's a very nice kayak. Really can't go wrong with a good kayak. Yeah, one of those, like, palindromes in general we're fans of. So, yeah, good kayak. Hard to go wrong there. Let's get the spots there. Go back to the black and white one just because it helps me. I feel like this did a better job this time. Uh, yeah, same here. It's what I do. I do click buttons. However, I would like to point out that so do the people who launch nuclear missiles. So therefore, I am very, very important and dangerous by association. That is the train of logic my brain thinks makes any kind of sense at 2:22 in the morning. So yeah, take that. Uh, I'm not sure if I'm flattered or insulted, given that you are, Maria Lisa, given that you are like 15 feet from me. Close enough I can hear you giggling. Cool. All right, that went quicker than I thought it was. Okay, cool. So now we can, there we go, brighten up those highlights, and if we brighten up the shadows, that's where the difference is going to be made. Wow, holy shit, that makes a difference. And also, we're not getting too much noise in there. We're getting a little bit, but not enough to really worry me, especially given that what Instagram's going to do to this when I post it. Uh, get up the texture. Don't really want to. Gonna leave the texture where it is. Yeah, that honestly, I think that looks really good. Bring it up a little bit more. Cool. All right, let's come down to here and start doing some color work. Done. Some colors. Uh, let's say saturating up the reds a little bit before we start giving our kayak here some really nice rosy cheeks. We don't quite go that far, but I like pulling out the red of the kayak and the red of the helmet. Oranges. No, that's gonna be adjusting the water. We're gonna bring that. Actually, I'm gonna do that specifically with the mask on the background. Uh, Yellows, same deal. Mostly bringing us up on the paddles. Or the paddles in the water. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, this guy saw us, standing there with cameras and, kind of, and like knew we were there and knew we were taking photos of him, so he knew what to. He was ready when he saw us coming, but it really did work out beautifully. Oh, I like bringing up the purples a little bit. It kind of gets some nice light on his shoulders. I'm actually gonna up the luminance of those. If I did it with the blue. I don't hate that either, honestly. That actually kind of it pulls out some nice colors in his jacket, and then also, yeah, also pulls that up there. I think I do something with the river water. I think I don't know, figure that out because it's got some nice blues here. But when you get the actual texture of it down there, yeah, we question that. We certainly shouldn't be in it. At least don't let it get in your mouth. Okay, that looks good. Let's go back to our mask here, our background. A little bit desaturation helps. Again, also makes our friend look more saturated. I push this more to blue. It still feels like a little much. It really does. I can just do a full-on hue adjustment and change it to something like that. That's aggressive. There we go. It's a big improvement. All right. Now I don't feel bad about adjusting the texture. Adjusting the texture does give us a nice, like, that's too much. If I dehaze it, we're gonna end up with. Uh, Good night, Maria Lisa. You too. That's not bad. If I bring the clarity down a little bit, yeah, pops him out from it a little bit, but still you keep the details and the texture. I like this. Also, I could take this whole thing to take the saturation to black and white. All right, we're gonna stick with this for now. I think the only other thing I might try is if I did another color range, which I hadn't really done much with before tonight. Let's pull that way back. Yeah, it's kind of hitting those spots in the river. There we go. And now I could push them to blue. Oh, that actually works really well. If I refine that a little bit more, widen the parameters a touch. That's a bit much. Yeah, this moment's kind of playing, which kind of tells you I'm starting to feel like I'm winding down on this. I'm not. I'm less honed into exactly what the photo needs. That looks pretty good. Uh, we're gonna add a brush in some of these areas that I hadn't quite gotten a hold of yet. Oop, that's overdoing it. That's overdoing it on so many levels. All right, let's try that again. Add a brush with the flow down. That's doing nothing either. All right, I'm gonna play with this one more time, and then I'm gonna say I'm coming back to this photo next session. Up in the color range, let's grab this section here as well. something like that. Done. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna be happy with that. We're gonna come back to them. We're gonna say that's the photo for tonight. That's how that one's gonna look. Then again, comparing to something like what the other shot it looks like, which is that's what the river actually looks like. That one will be good. Uh, that'll be good for a much more desaturated black and white look because this guy stands out so nicely among the rest of the colors. A bunch of good ones of this guy. This guy really did give us a lot of great shots to work with. All right, let's take a look. Let's maybe do one more architecture shot before we're done for the night. See if there's any more that really stand out to me. Got some flowers. Got this great dog. You know what? There was one back here I did kind of want to look at. Yeah, Richmond Fire Department out doing drills. There are a couple fun photos of them. Honestly, here with the water just being almost totally white, that makes them stand out really nicely. There's something cool there. Where's this? This one and this one are interesting. Not quite the photos I want to work on. Let me work on these last two. Out of curiosity, I'm trying. I was testing out the high dynamic range on this, so we're gonna see if this looks good. Come stop me, Amy. HDR. So this ends up looking. Turn the auto settings. Yeah, we keep the auto settings on. I'll come back and adjust them. Uh, if I switch the deghosting to high, let's see what we get. This one takes a while. Okay, doesn't look bad, honestly. This photo, which definitely needs some work. Um, yeah, this photo I liked because there was some really nice. You got the diamonds on the water. You got some beautiful sun kind of contouring with the current, but you also there was also this nice bridge. But in order to get the bridge exposed properly to see the actual metalwork of it, you had to get that nice shadow on the river, you had to get two photos and then merge them. So that's what we're gonna do. And I'm gonna freeze a bit, I think. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if this thing chugs as much when it does a panorama versus doing an HDR. Wait for it. Yeah, there it is. Cool. Let's start adjusting. We're gonna crop this down a bit. Crop it in. There we go. It's got a decent little look to it. Take the exposure down. That's interesting. Yeah, no, I'm actually gonna start with the luminance stuff down here because I want to be able to pull out the right colors. If I brighten those yellows, greens, again, doing next to nothing on these photos. I can bring the oranges down. There's a lot of red and magenta in that water. Just by virtue of it being so bright. We're going to bring the whites down. Let's go up here and fix that. Yeah, who upped the whites? Jeez. Let's see. I'm getting notificationed. I don't even know from who. Alright. Okay, I can definitely feel myself kind of reaching the end of my rope. Set the rating to 1. We're going to come back. That one's definitely going to come back and get some more work done on it. That one too. A bunch of good ones in here. Did a bunch of shots of the river, of the end of the pipeline. Got this fun one that I'm gonna have fun, just really enjoying the composition and the leading lines there. That's what we're gonna come back to. Didn't even touch the rest of these murals. There's this cool owl. Now, this is a photo I just took to have a shot of the owl. This is the photo one of these is the photo I'm gonna play with the being watched around the corner there. Not sure whether I want the owl in focus or not. Uh, let's see. Gonna do a quick edit on this one because this is one that I kind of enjoyed. Samson Payne. I gotta crop this down so it does kind of. There we go. widen that all the way up. Oop. Nope, not rotating. Rotation seems fine. Just make sure it's centered. Done. This is definitely a good one for clarity and texture. Dehazing, not so much. Dehazing, I kind of want to keep it where it was. Actually, I might reduce the, yeah, reducing the haze actually works pretty well in this. You get some nice, let's see, need to bring that down a little more. Bring the highlights down so we get some texture in those clouds. Bring the whites down even a bit, get some more texture in the clouds. Keep the blacks where they are. Shadows, yeah, shadows are fine. Yeah, this one's a good. I struggle so much to find shots that look good desaturated. Yeah, I know you'll fight me. I'm looking forward to it. What makes you think I didn't set up this entire stream just to bait you? Uh, Bring out your ferocious side. That's pretty good. My monitor's telling me that is correctly oriented. I don't believe it, but that's neither here nor there. Do a quick spot heal over here on just these tree branches, so I can get them out of out of the shot, without having to drop this into Photoshop and fix it. That's how bad this ends up looking. It's actually not bad at all. I need a clone. Is that going to solve? No, it's going to turn the opacity all the way up. That's the bigger problem. Heal it. Done. That looks good. I didn't quite get there. All right, let's try that again. Delete. That was the thing with spot heal that I need to stay cognizant of, is you do kind of have to get a nice wide berth around your area, because the edges do are a little feathered. No, we're going to bring this back down here to where you had it before. Yeah, something like that. That looks good. Done. Makes the clouds down there more interesting. Cool. Anything to do down here with luminance or color or anything? We can brighten that up a little bit. I like that. Yeah, I've been trying to find a good photo that can be desaturated nicely, and this actually seems to be one. It just has a, yeah, Samson Payne. Just, you know, brand name, brand name agony. Let's see. I know I said I was going to stop, but then now I'm sitting here being like, oh, well, I could work on this one. I could just do this one. I could just, there's this one more. Actually, this is one that I do really like, so I'm probably not gonna do too much with it. Just gonna click on it, try to get my head in the right spot. This is another one I had fun with because this is we found a bit of a goose egg shell, and I kind of like the image of the pillar of the bridge almost growing out of it as a little bit of a perspective, forced perspective. Yeah, that's gonna be a fun one to edit as well. Let's see. Real quick, we did another vertical panorama. Let's go ahead and do that real fast. Which is all these. And we're going to synchronize just the cropping. We're going to do a merge. And we're going to drink more tea. I have noticed I say substantially more hydrated um, when I edit more series with more panoramas in them. Series with more panoramas because uh, I don't have the problem of, like, I've got more time to drink tea. Okay, that looks worse. Let's go back to the. Yeah, I think we gotta do fill edge on this one, not boundary warp, because it is warping the bridge a little bit. Let's do the cylindrical one, just take a look. And then see what perspective does to this, because that's always funny. Amy, I will be nice and not adjust and not clean the river on this one, I promise. Gives me a little more height to it. I kind of like it where it was. Spherical's the way to go, but I want to see what perspective does, because the perspective's funny. Especially with this much depth in the photo. Lightroom, I need you to explain whatever you thought that was. Okay. Yeah, I'll let you auto settings for now. And of course, lens profile is a problem, so let's go ahead and fix that real quick. Because that does actually make a difference here. All right, here we go. Samyang 14. Good. Sync. The same thing with profile correction. Where is it? Lens corrections. Perfect. Synchronize. That'll do all those. And we do the same thing now, knowing what we want to do. Spherical with the edges filled. Nice. Good. All right, merge. Yep, and now we're skipping, because that's how that goes. All right. That's not it. It's going to pop up right in here. Oof. I don't know if you could hear that. My neck just, like, man, my neck was waiting for that crack. All right, we got the photo. Here it is. Do a little bit of cropping, because I want to crop in, try to lose that tree a little bit. Done. And we're going to crop a little bit here, because I want to lose a little bit more of that bridge. Though, I don't know. I thought there was going to be more of a shadow there, and there really isn't, so I'm kind of cool with this. Right, you brought my exposure down, you brought my shadows up. All of my favorite looks. I love the way the shadows are sort of, actually, yeah, when you zoom out, you get those nice shadows on that tower, and I like that. Let's come down here. I want to see. This is why I think I figured out why there's so much drone photography of the James Rivers, because when you get down to this level, it really does look like this, and you get the little hints of blue when you're high, yeah, from the right when you're at the right angle, but not enough. Okay, this is one I'm gonna keep editing. We're gonna finish that with a bird shot. We got some birds. Got some cool shots, some cormorants hanging out there on the water. I'm gonna go with this one, this guy flying. So that was a shot I liked. So we're gonna come in here. Do a quick select subject. Let me see if this thing selects subject. Let me see if I can get this thing to actually see if Lightroom's AI is racist against birds. That's pretty spot on actually. You subtract the rest of this rock down here. Of course, my flow is really low, so we're not doing that. There we go. Get rid of that rock. That rock does not exist. Just the bird. Cool. Excellent. So now I can brighten up the bird. I can up the texture on that bird, really make him stand out. Clarity is going to darken him. I don't really want to do too much of that. Up the shadows. Yeah, that's not too bad. Now we're going to do a new mask. Once again, select subject, which will be real quick, just to get it's going to do the same thing. Yep, like that. And now we're going to invert. I'm going to add with a brush. And we're just going to add this thing back in. Cool. Amy, there's a mural that says of a woman that says, "James, is that you I smell?" Like I've got a picture of that I'm gonna do something with. All right, so now keep the texture up and clarity up, maybe. I don't know, the clarity's not doing much on that one. Let's dehaze it because I want to darken that. I want to make sure the bird stands out more. There we go. That's better. Highlights down. Bring the whites down. That's gonna, yeah, just gonna darken the whole thing. At some point, you kind of gotta live with it. This would be a photo too, actually. This would be a moment to actually desaturate that background. But the bird isn't that bright, so the contrast. What if I crank the saturation to absurd levels? Oh, now the river just looks like it's full of oil. That's not ideal. Saturate a little bit. Texture clarity helps on that one. Texture down a bit. Not that much. I'm kind of trying to undo that. I'm kind of trying to fake a bit more of a focus, a bit more of a shallow depth of field than I actually have. Okay. Yeah, because the bird here is dark, it makes sense to brighten up the river and really give us that contrast. Especially spots around the bird. There's something there. Might work on this one. This is another one I'm going to work on more, but I think this is the point to call it a night. We've been doing this for an hour and a half, which makes me happy. Um, got a good jump on some of these. Got some of these that I really, really like so far. I think I don't know. I think my favorite one is my favorite one might be for the night might be this guy. This one just yeah gives me joy. Kind of was one of those like oh that's a cool thing to try to capture. Let's see if I can do it. And I ended up really liking it. But also I mean we got some good kayaking shots. We got a lot to work with. So um, it's funny. I already know that I've got a cool idea for framing this one with our skateboarder dude here. So that'll be a fun one to edit with a specific mind to presentation. But anyway, let's go back to finish up on this nice shot of the beautiful, clean and serene James River. Uh, just to yeah make sure this stream ends with Amy pouting. But yeah, thank you for joining. I appreciate it. Appreciate the conversation. It was fun to have some banter, fun to troll a little bit. Gives me makes me feel less like I'm just uh talking to the void, which I do enough of that anyway. But yeah, thank you so much, guys, for joining. It's made my night. It was kind of more than I could have hoped for when I sat down to do this. So thank you, and I hope this was entertaining to you. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you had maybe learned something, but also maybe just had fun. Ooh, let's clean that up real quick. Let's get that little spot on the sensor off of my photo. Perfect. Good. Done. Uh, but yeah, thank you again. Thank you for coming. It's been a pleasure. Go out there, continue to make awesome art, continue to do just the incredible things you do. Um, Also, if you are in the Richmond area, and I am well aware that the architect of this is on the stream, so she I'm 100% plugging her work. But if you're in the Richmond area, the Art Space Gallery is has starting tomorrow or yes today now, so starting the 12th, has an exhibit of 2,301 little airplanes that are being sold. They're on the wall and they're being sold individually for the uh, price of a gallon of gas just on the day you do it, and that uh, all of the money that is raised from this goes to benefit the people of Ukraine. And so it's the yeah. Uh, I might be wrong with this. I believe it's the number of planes. The 2,301 is the number of planes I believe that corresponds to like the number of planes the U.S. has sent to Ukraine, or the number of planes that there's a connection to that of the number of in terms of representative of our support of Ukraine. But yes, if you have the chance, swing by there. There's also a GoFundMe to donate to the project. Um, but which I will put in the video description. But yeah, that's if you have the chance to support that, that's a good way for art to make a difference, and we're always looking for ways to do that. So, with this all said, thank you for joining, and yeah, let me get the closing up here. Have a good night, stay safe, make awesome stuff, and we'll do this again. I'm not sure if tomorrow not sure I'm streaming tomorrow. If I am, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what I end up doing. But we'll see if I do or not. But if I am, it's kind of a toss up between whether I end up doing photo editing or film editing. I've got a couple new film projects to work on, so we'll see where that goes. Maybe we can do some trolling in Premiere. Anyway, have a good night. Be safe. Go do cool stuff and drink more tea. Tea is unquestionably the best drink out there.